All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that I've been waiting for. I know Dev's been waiting for it too. We have Wendy Day on the line. Let me see if I can, see. Wendy, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Good. It is great to hear from you. I have been waiting to have this conversation with you for, wow, it seems like a month or so.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I miss Tampa. How's your weather?
Actually, our weather's pretty good here. We've, I can't lie. Things have been good. It's been temperate, Pretty soon we'll be back to our, super humid, sweating when you're walking down the street type weather. But this is, that little window that we get of, that perfect weather, that kind of, Cali kind of weather,
Awesome.
But, yes, we're super excited to have you here. Now, for our listeners, I'm going to run it down right quick.
Okay.
Get past all of the... Now, I said this at the top of the show, folks, but Wendy Day is an incredible hip-hop entrepreneur. In 1992, founded the Rap Coalition because she was disillusioned with the way artists were treated in the industry, a rare thing. Represents artists, holds seminars, holds showcases, negotiates contracts, and even has provided healthcare benefits. I missed that one the first time I read the bio. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but you wrote the book How to Get a Record Deal in 2011, correct?
I did. Yep, I sure did.
Okay, and that is quite an instructive manual on how to avoid the pitfalls of trial and error and really maximize your potential as far as getting a record deal. Of course, Wendy is most famous, for those of you in the know, for negotiating the Cash Money distribution deal. Amazing $30 million unprecedented 3-year deal that got them an 80-20 split. Unheard of at the time. That was 1998, I believe.
It was, yep.
And, of course, you've worked with artists Eminem, Cash Money, No Limit, Twista, David Banner, Razcast, one of my favorites, who I know we'll talk about later, Slick Rick, Cormega. Just the list goes on. And, of course, if any of you listeners out there are interested in reading more about her business exploits, you can go to wendyday.com. But what I really wanted to do was get that out of the way, because last time we spoke, we had a great conversation that kind of veered away from the strictly business side of things.
Exactly.
And I was super excited to talk about that, because I remember when we first spoke, the first thing I asked you was, for those, I'm sorry, let me backtrack. For those of you that don't know, Wendy also gave up already. She already had a career. You already had things going on in your life that you pretty much dropped and invested most of your resources in your business for helping out artists. And the first thing I asked you...
Exactly, almost $500,000.
Wow. The first thing I asked you was, what made you do that? Because it seems like an altruistic kind of endeavor. So can you expound upon that? What made you get...
I can. The real answer to that is youth. Youth made me do that. Or insanity. If you ask my mom, she'll tell you I'm insane.
Uh-huh.
But I think it was the exuberance of youth, because I was 30 years old, and to me, making money was kind of easy. So I knew that I wanted to help people, and I knew that I wanted to put my own money where my mouth is and use my own money to start a not-for-profit to help artists. But at all times in the back of my head, I knew that if it didn't work out or if something went horribly, horribly wrong, I could just go get another job and make that money back. And it's funny, because now, 2 decades later, I have a completely different outlook and a different respect for money, because it's not that easy. It was just that youthful exuberance I had where I thought, I can replace it. No big deal. If I lose $100, I'll go get another $100. No big deal.
Well, hey, thank goodness for the perfect storm of youth, and and the economy being better than, it's I'm sure you have a different outlook after the financial crash and everything, but
absolutely. Also at that point in my life, not to get like super, Wendy personal, but I had married a guy in Montreal who was really just all about the money that I was making. He was a male gold digger. So when I came back to New York, my perspective was almost negative towards money. I almost resented it and hated it because I felt like it ruined a relationship that I had.
Mm-hmm.
As I've grown, I've learned that it didn't ruin the relationship. He and I did.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was almost like I kind of blamed money,
mm-hmm.
and I wanted to get as far away from it as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I wanted to start a not-for-profit. I wanted to help people. Like I've always been a helpful person, but my mindset about money had really shifted, and that was a lot due to my personal circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things when I asked you that, I asked you that question as well, is I said, why hip hop? Why? And I found it interesting because you like, unlike most people in the music industry, actually have a love for what you are doing. Because I remember
music. It is the passion and the energy, and I'm sure when you asked me that before, I'm sure that was my answer as well.
Yeah.
I started listening to hip-hop really before it was called hip-hop. It was 1980, and I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and University of Pennsylvania, which was down the street from where I was going to school. I went to art school in Philly,
mm-hmm.
and University of Pennsylvania had this big concert, like a fall fling,
mm-hmm.
and they had Psychedelic Furs, which was a rock group that I absolutely loved. They had Clarence Clemens and the E Street Band, who I adore.
Uh-huh.
That's the backup band for Bruce Springsteen. And then they had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Okay,
How eclectic is that? It's
uh-huh.
like three completely different genres of music, coming together. And I had no idea who Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were, but when they took the stage, I was mesmerized. They did Don't Push Me, cause I'm close to the edge, and it was just like, that's it. I was in love. I was sucked in. And after that day, I remember going to the record stores in Philly and trying to find that type of music, not even knowing really what it was. I knew it was some sort of urban music
mm-hmm.
from looking at them and looking at the crowd that really responded to it. But to me, it was dance music, and it was really awesome, and I wanted it. I wanted to be a part of it. And that started my love affair with rap in 1980, and it's just grown, and,
mm-hmm.
and I'm so fortunate because I've really gotten to not only see the music and the culture change and morph into really cool things, but I've gotten to see, a couple generations of people feed their children off of this music.
Yeah.
People that are normally disenfranchised in America. And they've gotten to build, some empires. Look at Jay-Z.
Oh,
look
yeah.
at his empire.
Oh, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is awesome to, it's funny because you kind of beat me to the punch on, because I was going to ask you what your first experience was with hip hop. But like, I was so struck by what you told me when we were just talking off mic in the studio. Was that I remember you saying something like, I feel like I owe Rakim, I feel like I owe, Slick Rick and all of these artists.
It's like it brought me so much happiness. I felt like I owed them something. I felt like, when I started Rap Coalition, I started it because of the rumors that I heard about X-Clan and Eric B. and Rakim getting jerked by their respective labels. And they were my favorite artists at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was giving back for all the happiness that they had brought me through their music. That
is awesome. If only the world was like this,
It's like, you mean it's not?
Yeah.
And
now, another thing that we spoke about that it was funny because you and I are of the same mind about this, but I asked you what fuels your continuing love of hip hop, because we talked about the golden age of hip hop and how some people are kind of stuck now. I don't want to, I'm not trying to put anybody's business out there too much, but I'm kind of an older guy, and you come from you maybe are like from a generation of hip hop before me. I consider myself kind of like second
52.
generation,
I'm 52. Actually, I'm going to turn 52 in a couple months. But yeah, I'm older than the average hip hop head. In fact, now I'm older than most hip hop heads' parents.
Yeah.
And that's really weird for me.
See, but what was cool about it is like we spoke about the this kind of thing where there's this phenomenon that's happened now that people, my age and your age, and even some younger, but like that experienced the late 80s, early 90s hip hop, kind of have this kind of experience with hip hop where they almost view it as a dead art form after 93. They get stuck in that golden, quote unquote, golden era hip hop. But you seem to have a continuing love for the music. Like it, you seem to have grown with it. What fuels that love? Like,
I think, well, first of all, it's the energy and the passion in the music, and it's still there today. Like whether I'm listening to, Apache, Jump on It, or Trinidad James, All Gold, Everything. To me, those two extremes are almost the same because they're those party fun, let's have a good time records. Not that I, go around listening to both those songs all day, every day, but I've been able to see hip-hop grow and morph through so many different incarnations of the music that I don't resent it. I see a lot of my contemporaries, they almost get angry when they listen to the Migos or Rich Homie Quan or Gucci Mane. They physically get angry. Look what they're doing to the culture. And for me, it's almost like, because I listened to rap at such an early age, and in the very beginning, it was almost like, we were listening to X-Clan and Public Enemy, and then along came the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff, and it's like, look what you're doing to hip-hop.
Yeah.
We got really mad, like, why are you making a commercial? Hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, Hammer, you're horrible. Why are you doing this to hip-hop?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's that same sentiment that exists today. It's almost like whatever era people grow up in, that's their favorite music. It shapes their growth and their formative years. And anything that comes next, it's almost like they get angry and they start to hate it.
Yeah.
Because it's different. And for me, because I've gone through so many different generations of hip-hop, good and bad, that I've just learned to roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, because you talk about those generational changes in the music and kind of like it's evolution. I've had this conversation so many times with so many different people, some who are stuck and some who have evolved with the music. But I have that conversation with the people who are stuck, and maybe somebody will use a rock sample and their music or whatever, and they'll look at it and they'll go like, oh man, what's this? That's crazy. That's weirdo out there. But it's like, and then I kind of point out to them, it's like, well, I guess you missed the fact that Run DMC back in the day, they were the kings of rock. They were doing that before. It's like, it all just kind of keeps coming back around. It's like,
it's cyclical.
Yeah, exactly. And really, when hip-hop started, it was funny that you were talking about how eclectic that first show you saw was. It's like, if you take people like Africa Bambaataa and people that was first DJing what was like hip-hop in its formative stages, it was all kinds of different music mixed together to make what we call hip-hop. But it wasn't necessarily like hip-hop music, like it wasn't necessarily rap music all the time.
Exactly. But it was sort of like a mishmash of disco and breakbeats and R&B and funk and jazz and all different kinds of cool stuff and rock all mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a park party, or a house party.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all Southern rap or East Coast rap or West Coast rap. It was like a mishmash of everything, and it was really awesome.
Now, I remember you told me who your two favorite rappers were.
It's going to blow everybody's mind.
Exactly.
Because they're so extremely different. Young Jeezy. I love the stories he tells. You know, he paints really great pictures with his words. And then I'm a real big fan of lyrics. My other favorite rapper is Razcast.
Yes, one of my favorites.
So lyrical and so wonderful. And, you know, I'm so fortunate because not only is he my favorite rapper, but I actually got to befriend him in the 90s. And he's a rapper that, in my world, has iconic stature, but he's also a really great human being. And I've got to tell you, I've met a lot of my heroes, and they're not great human beings. So, you know, it's funny because, you know, I'm such a Jeezy fan, and I had the opportunity to, you know, help put out USDA and Blood Raw. And I never spent time with Jeezy. I didn't want to get to know him for fear that he wouldn't be what I thought he was. So they used to call ahead to the office and say, Twin, who's his assistant, would call me and say, okay, we're going to be there in 20 minutes. And I would leave the office just so that I wouldn't bump into him and have to interact with him, because God forbid that he wasn't like my image of what Jeezy should be as a human being. I didn't want to dislike his music because I might not like him. And I know that's crazy, because what if I really did like him? You know, what if he's a great guy? But I just didn't want to take that chance, because I've lost a lot of heroes. You know, to meeting them. A lot. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know how you feel. I've told many stories on this radio show about folks that I've met whose music I love. I've had to learn to separate the artist from the art, because there's some musicians, some MCs that I really love, but I also work at a nightclub, so they've been on tour, and I've gotten to meet them, and I've been like, oh man, jeez. Oddly enough,
what a letdown. You know?
Oddly enough, the person who I thought would be the craziest, weirdest, just most out there, unapproachable person was the most approachable, and that was Kool Keith. Super nice guy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Super nice guy. He's like, every time I've met up with him, he's just always been like real nice. Like,
that's awesome.
I thought,
as it should be too. And he's funny. He actually is a really great guy. You know who it is for me that I expected to be really bizarre, and he turned out to be a really great guy? Is Tech Nine. I thought Tech Nine was going to be this weirdo, devil worshipping, sword swallowing, light my hair on fire guy, and he's not. He's actually somebody that, when he comes to town, I go and spend time with him. You know, I've been out on tour with him. I love it. In fact, I'm speaking at South by Southwest on his panel because he asked me to. Like, he's such a great human being. He's nothing like what I thought he would be.
Really? See, I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I love his music. I think he is a phenomenal MC. I go to see him anytime
lyrical,
he comes to.
Like, who knew?
Yeah.
You know, really lyrical.
Oh, yes. And, you know, the artists on his label are actually really excellent, too. Like Seth's Crew and Ritz. Very good artists.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, I had a question for you. This question is kind of in several parts. It's like, how do you feel about, I mean, because now hip-hop is kind of branched out into many things. And, of course, like, being that you've worked with people who have made it, like, kind of big in the mainstream of hip-hop, how do you feel about the mainstream of hip-hop today versus when you started? Do you feel that, because we were kind of speaking about this in the sense that hip-hop in its fledgling stages, when you had Yo MTV Raps and stuff and it first came out, there was a diversity in the mainstream.
There was.
You know, like, you could see LL, you could see Poor Righteous Teachers, you could see, Public Enemy, K9 Posse, all this stuff, all these things on, you could see all those videos on the same show. To me, and I wonder how you feel about it, but to me it feels like nowadays there's kind of, if you want to be in that upper echelon as far as fame, it seems that there's the industry is limiting as far as what an artist can say and how they can act.
It is. First of all, it's become more commercial, and I mean corporately commercial, because back in the day, we didn't have Samsung giving millions of dollars to Jay-Z to represent their company, And in fact, I remember back when it was either Big Daddy Kane or it was KRS-One endorsed, was it a candy bar? They endorsed something. And I remember that the industry was just so up in arms about, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. This is terrible. The world's going to shut down. I just remember the reaction. And today it's almost the opposite. If you're a rapper and you don't have a corporate sponsor, it's like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the biggest difference that I see. Certainly what you're saying, though, is the genre of rap is not as splintered today as it was back in the day. Now it's sort of like you've got the Kendrick Lamar, Big Crit lane, the lyrical guys. You've got the dope boy lane of Rick Ross, Yo Gotti, and Jeezy. And then you've got, like, the artsy-fartsy, weird lane of, like, Kanye and Lil Wayne, where it's almost like stream of consciousness rap, And then you've got the really commercial stuff like Nicki Minaj and Drake, So it's and that's it. It's like there's only a few lanes.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to fit in one of those lanes in order to have commercial mass success.
Now, of course, on a mainstream level, but even on a more underground level, because obviously there's way more diversity on the underground. If you're willing to search the net, you can find great music. You can find anything. But I'm wondering, do you feel, as far as being an artist and having any kind of career success, and I'm not just talking about like mainstream, but any kind of career success, that I'll give you an example. Even when I was, I'm a performing artist as well. I don't, obviously I do it for the love, but like when I would get shows, even when I was opening for a bigger group, back in the day, I never even had to sell tickets. It was more just based upon like, did a promoter think I was good or whatever? Now it seems like even on a promotional level, like artists have to sell their own tickets. Most artists are, on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, Instagram, whatever social media there is out there, they're on it and constantly. Do you feel that, I don't know, I almost feel like a lot of stuff that's kind of getting noticed is not getting noticed so much for the artist's talent as it is these artists having a marketing and kind of a marketing and social media savvy that maybe they didn't have to have before, because it's like,
I agree.
I feel like a lot of people that are artists end up spending like 50% of their time just doing other things other than art. Yeah.
Right. I agree. And I think that we as a society have become more of that. Like now all of a sudden we have people that are famous for no reason, like the Paris Hiltons and the Kim Kardashians. It's like people want to be famous. And back in my day, we kind of shunned fame. Fame was for rock and roll stars or rap stars or ball players or entertainers who actually earned it. And now it seems like everybody wants to be famous. Like, everybody's got a blog, everybody's got an opinion. People, count their views. They want to know how many friends they have on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Everybody wants to be in their own little spotlight. So I think as a society, we've kind of gone more in that direction. And, it's funny because I blame reality TV for that, where the most mundane topic, we're house movers and we've got our own TV show.
Yeah.
The most mundane people now are stars.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like a whole generation of people are coming up, and instead of just living life, they're living life, with their iPhone camera turned on them at all times. Oh, this is great. I have to post it on Instagram. Oh, my God, I got to upload this to Tumblr.
Yeah.
This is some great footage of me waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
And I think as a society that's happened. So certainly with our stars, they've had to go to the extreme to stand out. This is where you'll see somebody like Pharrell wearing that giant hat that looked like an Arby's logo,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to the Grammys because he wants to stand out.
Yeah.
People are doing really extreme things.
Mm-hmm.
The best example I can make is we have a rapper here in Atlanta called Young Thug,
Mm-hmm.
and Young Thug just signed to Young Money,
Uh-huh.
and the talk about him signing wasn't so much that this kid had, and I say kid because he's young. I'm certainly not demeaning him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to be his mom. But this kid, the hype around him signing wasn't about his talent as a rapper. It was whether or not he was gay.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's just so bizarre that as a society, that's what it's become. Like,
Yeah.
whoever is the most extreme
Right.
wins.
Yeah.
And that's why he was doing that. Like, he purposely did that because he wanted people talking about it.
Mhm.
And that's just amazing to me. That would have never happened in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, you know, because I was like reading a lot about in preparing for the interview with you. You know, I kind of went back and read some stuff about you, and I was also on your website, and you know, one of the posts that was on your website was talking about, you know, it said something about being like a scratchy throat, hard to ignore. But and you were speaking to the fact that there are a lot of good artists, but they're bad at connecting with fans and marketing. And you know, I personally, it was funny, just a while ago, just kind of almost gave up. I mean, because I love writing music, I love performing it, but it is another job in and of itself just to do all of the stuff you need to do
all the promotion
to get noticed.
It's a bear. It's really hard. And not only is it hard, but you need money to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you're an artist that is truly broke and you're making money for the love, and by the way, it's very rare to find people today that are doing it for the love. It's almost like it's the new drug game. It's the new come up. Oh, I want to be a rapper because I want to hit a lick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas back in the day, it was, I love the art form, I love the music, I just want to be down. I don't care if you pay me. I just want to be down.
Yes, yeah. I feel you. I totally feel you on that, because I don't know. As being someone who's a lover of hip-hop, I feel like, you know, there's so much, there's so many possibilities with it, especially because it's an art form where you can really speak your mind and really, you know, and tell stories and take people places that, I don't know. As a medium, it has it. It's kind of unique in a way. That way, you know.
It is. It's almost like it has no rules.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, if you wanna stop your story in the middle of the song and just, you know, burp 5 times on the record and then start your story up, it wouldn't be weird.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's almost like, oh wow, that's really cool that he did that. You know, in hip hop, we can almost do whatever we want. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that, and you know, yeah, it's a shame. I feel like a lot of that spirit is going away. You know,
I agree.
Maybe obviously, if you look hard enough, you can find anything. You know, if you dig on the net, but like, it's too bad that it's not. It's too bad it's not more at the front, you know, at the fore. You know, I'm kind of a lover of that weirdo. So, you know, we spoke before, and I was like talking about my love of Project Blowed and a lot of, you know, like
I love Project Blowed.
A lot of, what used to be Def Jux, stuff like that, you know, and you know, it's just, those are things that are tougher to find. You got to really look.
You got to dig. It's true. You know, I think also it's very oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so much. You know, if you go to like a SoundCloud or Bandcamp or, you know, Audio Mac, there's like 22 million rappers, and I'm not exaggerating. You know, whereas back in the day, there just weren't that many, so everybody kind of had a little shine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's physically impossible for you to listen to all the music out there. It's physically impossible for you to know who every rapper is. So really, you only get a glimpse of whatever crosses your personal path. So your idea of hip-hop and what's out there is very different from my idea of hip-hop and what's out there, because we have different lives.
Yeah.
You know, so you may spend all of your time on the internet, whereas I may spend all of my time on the street.
Yeah.
And we'll have a completely different hip-hop experience.
Yeah.
You know, the two of us, because there's just so much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally feel that. Yeah. I totally feel that. There's people who listen to stuff and they'll be like, yeah, do you know about so-and-so? And I'm like, who? And then I'll be like, do you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I listen to this.
But
and
in the
this,
90s, like, we all knew, like, even the obscure guys, like the J Live, we all knew who J Live was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know, we all knew, like, who was working with Premiere, who were the artists coming up under Premiere. We knew all that, you know? And even the really, like, bizarre, remember, like, horrorcore, I think they called it?
Yeah.
You know, even if we didn't like it, we knew who they were. We knew, okay, this kid's in the group out of Washington, D.C. He's Russell Simmons' nephew. I can't have that. It's funny, right? I can't have that knowledge today because there's just too many.
Yeah. Oh,
I can't know who everybody is. I haven't heard of everybody. Even if I just sat in my house online and surfed the web and never slept again, I wouldn't be able to hear everything that's out there. It's just physically impossible. So our experiences are each of us in the world, our experience of what hip-hop is very different.
Yeah. Oh, I totally feel that. Totally feel that. Now, I had a couple more quick questions to ask you. I really appreciate you staying on the phone with us this long.
I'm so happy to do this.
Here, this kind of portion of my questioning really is for, like, the MCs out there, the young cats out there looking, you know, to try and get a foothold. Maybe they're trying to get their feet wet in the game and, you know, kind of get an understanding of what they need to do. What makes you choose to represent an artist or even to look or listen to an artist? You know, what makes you want to listen or represent an artist over another artist? Like two or three people.
It's funny. It's become a business for me now. It's the music business. It's no longer, you know, I'm no longer Wendy Day, the chick that just loves rap and wants to help everybody, because it's too oversaturated, and there's so many people that are so talented and so wonderful that will never, ever make it in a million years. And they won't make it not because they're not talented, but because talent alone doesn't matter anymore. And for me, I choose artists based on the ones that will have the most commercial success, not because I don't love the culture and not because I don't love hip-hop, but because one of my goals and one of my agendas is and has always been to help artists make money in the music business. So if there's two artists, one that I feel will be able to make money because they fit that mass market sensibility, and then there's another artist who doesn't. They don't have that it factor. They make music that's, you know, really a niche that only maybe 20,000 people will embrace instead of hundreds of thousands. You know, I let somebody else help them because I don't want to spend my time choosing what I like or what I don't like. I want to spend my time helping the people that will fit in the lane of commercial rap music and be able to earn a living. That's my agenda and that's my goal.
Okay. So what would you say are the resources that someone would need to approach someone like yourself? I mean, I assume that there are at least a handful of folk like you out there. What resources do you look for that person to have?
I kind of look for the next level artist. And what I mean by that is somebody who's just starting out and just building their buzz and their reputation on the street is not somebody that I can really help. What the labels are looking for is somebody that has their own fan base in place, somebody that has a regional buzz, somebody that already has, I don't know how to say it, then their fan base already in place. So they're looking for somebody that's got like a boatload of real followers on Twitter and Facebook. They're looking for somebody that's doing shows outside of just their area and getting paid for it. They're looking for somebody that has like a regional buzz.
Okay.
So because that's what they're looking for, that's what I look for. You know, and the best resource I think somebody has in the music business, and you know, I'm so thankful for the internet because if you can sort through what's real and what's not real, it's a great, 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 great resource. Like, you can Google how to build your career in rap, and the blueprint is on there. You know, I mean, heck, it's on my website, but the blueprint is on there, so you can learn what steps to take to succeed, whereas 10 years ago you couldn't. You know, there were no books out. There were no websites really dedicated to building a career. It was just all trial and error unless you knew somebody that could kind of clue you in on what was really going on the inside. You had no idea, and you had to sort of, you know, test the waters, and it was all trial and error. Maybe you succeeded, maybe you didn't. Whereas today you can do the research, find out how to build a career, enact that plan for yourself, and become successful.
I feel that. Now, I know I appreciate that answer. Sober. It was kind of a sobering answer. I kind of didn't expect that one from you, but it's sobering in the sense that, you know, it's like you're right. It is a saturated art form, and it is.
It's a business. It's very much a business now, and that breaks my heart. I'm certainly not bragging that it's a business. You know, I'm sad. I miss the days where it was about fun and it was people doing it for the love. And, you know, I got to work with artists because I liked their music as opposed to, you know, they were mainstream and that's what the fans want as opposed to what I want. Because I promise you it's very different.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's... We still appreciate your love of hip hop, and we really appreciate you talking with us. I know Dev had one question for you before we let you go.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. My one question was, I had the pleasure of watching VH1, The Tanning of America.
Me too.
Yes. We had a nice conversation over Twitter during the shows. You were actually on episode.
I was on the third episode, little bit, and then I was on the fourth episode because of Eminem.
Oh, wow. How was that for you? And watching it, I know, was a great experience for myself. Yes, it was.
It was awesome. It was awesome, not because I was on it. It was awesome because it was such a great documentary. And, you know, I do this all day, every day, so sometimes I forget why I do what I do, and sometimes I forget the power in hip-hop. And what the Tanning of America was for me is it reminded me of the power of hip-hop, you know, and as a white person, especially being a white female in hip-hop, you know, I forget how important hip-hop has been in terms of race relations, you know, and to have somebody outside of my world pointed out on a documentary is just really wonderful because I see the difference, I see the change, as you know, in my circle and my world, but I forget that it's really changed the entire world, and it's changed humanity for the better, and it's done so much to give a voice to people that didn't have a voice 30 years ago because nobody listened, and now all of a sudden, you know, here's this guy Jay-Z or this chick Lady Gaga or, you know, and you could argue whether or not they have anything beneficial to say, but the point is that the world listens when they speak. And that's really kind of a cool thing.
Wow, I feel that. Definitely feel that. Well,
not to mention the entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
You know, hip-hop really, like I said in the documentary, you know, we kicked in the door. We didn't wait for somebody to give us a job. We created jobs. And to me, that's amazing.
Wow, that's all. Well, you know, of course. Like I said, I kind of like I skipped a bunch of the business side just because I know that I'm sure you've been asked 1,000,001 questions about that. But like, I feel like we could, you know, if you want to, anytime you want to talk to us again and you know, share more information and impart more knowledge, we would really appreciate having you call back. Or if you're in Florida, we'd love to have you in the studio. You know.
Thanks.
We really appreciate you calling. You've given us
I've been waiting months to do this. Like I've been waiting since that night when I met you guys to do this. So I'm hugely thankful that you called me and said let's do this.
Oh, hey, we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate it. I am so happy that we got to talk to you we got to talk to you for the better part of an hour. So
I know I was really selfish with your time, and I'm sorry.
Not at all.
With that being said, I have one more question. Who are you listening to right now? And the reason I ask that is because the way I determine if I like an artist nowadays is usually if I listen to their songs more than 3 times. Because like we've said, it's so much out there. I normally listen to something one time and I'm pretty much done with it, especially being at the radio station. So if I'm listening to something more than once, 2, 3 times, I probably like it.
That's cool. That's cool. You know, it's funny. I wish you had asked me this like 4 months ago or 5 months ago, only because right now my clients everybody is in the recording phase and getting ready to put out their first singles, or one of my clients just dropped his first single. So because of that, I'm so entrenched in their careers that I'm not listening to anything outside of them. So I'm a little bit at a loss as to what's going on in the world of hip hop. Other than hearing that Young Thug just got signed to Young Money. Is he gay or is he not? And who the hell cares? But I've been so focused on listening to my clients' music that I don't know what else is out there.
You might be better off that way, and that's coming that's coming from somebody that's stuck in the 90s.
See, it was so funny because we were talking about growing with hip hop and stuff, and you were talking about you've continued to grow, and I was looking at Dev. I was looking across because of course I love a lot of the new stuff that's come out, and Dev is a little bit more cynical about hip hop. So I was looking at him when you were talking about that.
When I was talking about that, that's funny.
Yeah. But hey, once again, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you calling in. We're going to let you go. Actually, hold the line so I can, thank you off air. But, unless there's anything else you wanted to say, we'll let you.
I just want to thank you guys for doing what you do, because there's really no money in what you're doing. You're doing this because you love hip-hop. And I'm so appreciative that you exist and that you have a radio show and that you're willing to devote your time to this, because it's not profitable, really, to do what you do, and I love your love for it, and I'm so thankful you do this.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to our interview with Wendy Day. Please, if you didn't hear it all, go to WMNF.org and download the MP3 of the show. It'll be up for the next week until next Tuesday night. It was incredible having you, Wendy.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
I appreciate you guys so much.